2, 1. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of On Beat Off Script, episode 15. We're going to get into the album breakdowns here. This is our album by album breakdown. We've got some really cool ones coming up here, but before I do that, why don't I introduce myself? My name's Brandito, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mel and Rose. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Love it.
Crashing out less now.
Yeah,
than I was earlier.
Yeah,
we feel better now than we did before the
bring
crack
things
attack.
back in. So again, on Wednesday we're gonna drop the singles, but we always record the singles beforehand. But like, there was some real political frustrations and stuff like that. I should make sure that I mention that On Beat Off Script is not affiliated with any sort of political anything. So we're just going to just chuck that little ball up into the air and let you guys tee that one wherever you guys want to. That's just want to say, everybody, we're not necessarily affiliated in any direction, but we do have our opinions on certain subject matters that sometimes poke out, and I don't think that's a bad thing. We have a platform, so it's important to still use it for the right things at times. But it definitely got a little bit more heated in the singles.
We'll be better behaved this time for the albums, I think, overall.
I think so too. But yeah, so the albums that we have coming up, we have Lord Huron, that kind of indie folksters that dropped their what seems to be kind of the first in a series of albums with the Cosmic Selector Volume 1. We have one of my favorite artists, indie rockers from the last little bit, with Indigo de Souza launching Precipice, a little dive into some more pop sphere, and we'll find out how we feel about it. And then Renee Rapp, the girl that does everything, coming out with a little Bite Me, which just released yesterday, which I'm excited to go over and take a quick peek at. But yeah, how did you guys feel about the album selection before we start diving in? Can you stop just chomping at things right now, Mel?
It's really
It's a weird
scratching
thing
something
to
in my
do.
brain, and not in a great way.
You're welcome.
Oh, God.
Before we dive into any of the albums, how did we feel about the albums prior to listening? How did we feel? What did we expect? What were we hoping for?
I was tentatively excited for Renee Rapp. I'd never heard of Lord Huron before, like, ever. Yeah, I know. I'm living under a rock for some of these today. And I'd never heard of Indigo de Souza, so I was intrigued to see what they both did. But this is, again, brand new listening experience for me on these two.
Wow.
Nice.
I was pretty excited about all three of these. Indigo, I only knew of because of Brandito, and I had to do a little bit of a deep dive into their music before going into this, but I was excited just knowing how excited he was for it. Lord Huron, I'm very proud to admit that I was a fan before 13 Reasons Why's and before The Night We Met blew up, because I love my sad girl music. So yeah, I was very excited to dive into a Lord Huron album, and like Renee Rapp just throws out some bangers, so I'm always excited for a pop girly moment. So.
Yeah, I was super big on Indigo de Souza, which I kind of mentioned already. Lord Huron, I've appreciated as features in a lot of things. Lord Huron's kind of been busy, but not necessarily doing their own stuff, so it's nice to hear what their own stuff is going to end up sounding like, so I was kind of pumped on that. And yeah, Renee Rapp is just a super talented young lady that's just kind of cool to watch what she's doing. And
that sounded so old of you.
Yes.
Super talented young lady.
It's because I'm an old man. It's because I'm an old man.
Wow.
In here. Right inside of here. But before I continue to get roasted for acting like a senior, let's get into a little bit of Lord Huron with their fresh album, The Cosmic Selector Volume 1, that dropped last Friday, if I'm not mistaken. It was last Friday?
The 18th? When was that? I think we're pretty...
Oh, no, actually, it was 2 Fridays ago. I don't know why I went all the way back to that to pull this album. But regardless, we're doing it.
We did. It's fine.
So, it is. In case you don't know who Lord Huron is, Lord Huron is an LA-based indie group made up of Mark Berry, Miguel Brizeno, Briseno, I don't know, Tom Renaud, and founder Ben Schneider. They released their debut album in 2012 with Lonesome Dreams, which debuted at number 5 on the Billboard Heat Seekers charts. They started to see their strongest success, however, with their sophomore album Strange Trails in 2015, which ended up in the top 10 for album sales charts with the big hit The Night We Met, which went platinum and was used in the series that Mel mentioned, 13 Reasons Why. And then it was remixed to include Phoebe Bridgers in 2018 for the second season of 13 Reasons Why. So the same song got relaunched again for another season of that really
depressing
macabre show.
Yeah.
Heavy, dark.
Since then, they've released 2 other albums before diving into the Cosmic Selector, breaking a 4-year gap from their last record, 2021's Long Lost. Lord Huron's known for really compiling a lot of Americana folk styling, but like kind of incorporating a lot of other genre and styles into it, from like Western and country to folks, elements of rock and pop, which kind of creates like a really uniquely like imagery heavy sound by taking the styles and their lyricism and kind of combining them all together in a cool way. They've been compared to, styles of like The Band and Neil Young, with a lot more of a modern edge, which is kind of appreciated. I do like those two being shoutouts when it comes to Americana and that kind of vibe, even though the band's mostly Canadian. Just to throw that one out there. The inspiration behind the Cosmic Selector is kind of this randomness of life. If you see the cover, which I'm sure will probably be posted on the YouTube version of this, it's about a jukebox that when you enter in a song, you actually have no idea what the song is, and it's going to transport you to something that you have no idea, and it's all about the randomness of life. Sort of wanting to incorporate a level of being like transported to a different world with each song you select, like a jukebox. But every song is mislabeled, and there's an infinite amount of possibilities that you could end up selecting by accident, right? And that's kind of their way of describing how life works, is you're randomly selecting a world that you're going to get transported to, and you have no idea where you're going to go until you've selected it. So kind of a cool concept, kind of going with the whole thing. And it's all about that, which I found kind of difficult to find all the way through the album, but we're going to discuss that regardless, and kind of go into that. But before we do the track by track, Mel, how'd you feel about Lord Huron, and kind of just preamble about the album before we dive into it?
I love my sad music. There's a lot of sad and lonely things happening here. It works for me a lot of the times. Yeah, that's all I'll say to start off.
Rose, A2?
I wasn't really sure what to think, but with the first track, I immediately was like, okay, I'm on board. Let's see where it goes, and I really had a good time. Like,
yeah.
Cool. And seeing as how we've already listened to it, let's look back with the opening track on Cosmic Selector Volume 1, Looking Back.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Starting strong.
Yeah, this was, honestly, for me, this was a really strong start. This ended up being one of my favorite tracks on the album. It was really, really cool. I liked it. Starts in this really sleepy kind of guitar scape with these over-filtered vocals over it. The consistency of the kick drum with no other percussion, I thought was really cool to start a track off. Like, it's really enjoyable on that side of things. Yeah, it's super simple, really atmospheric. It's dark and looming kind of the whole way through. It doesn't change from that kind of aesthetic. And I'll be honest with you, I ended up listening to it twice because I listened to it while I was at work, just kind of played all the way through it. And I liked it even more the second time around. I ended up liking it, and it ended up being one of my favorite tracks when I don't think I had actually liked it on Spotify my first listen. So just kind of a fan of that.
Yeah, when I first start an album, I feel like it takes me a minute to start adding favorites. So like to start off with a favorite is hard. I feel like you like overlook it a lot.
Yeah.
But I really, really love that like staticky, almost like rain light like opening. I like how we ended with that too for like a full circle moment. The verses here I thought were just so relatable, like just like him wanting peace and quiet, but then also wanting like another form of loneliness is just disappearing into a noisy place to like drink his feelings away. Like there's just I hate how relatable it is, but like you can relate to both of those forms of loneliness. At least I can. That existential crisis he's experiencing, I also think is a little like too relatable. Like just losing somebody and not knowing who you are without them around anymore just like hits hard. His lyricism always just like hits hard too. Like if I need a little money, I'll sell my soul, though it's not worth much. Like maybe I can pay my cosmic debt. Like I also just really got the feeling that that cosmic debt was going to be a big theme of the album here. So I was like bookmarking that in my head. Yeah, I loved this a lot. A lot.
Yeah, immediately was super on board. I love it. The whole song is very like dreamlike and hazy. And the lyrics are really like powerful, and I think it works really well with the setting that they've come up with. And it's like the finger picked like guitar along with like this atmospheric sort of like folk vibe that they had going. I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. This is definitely one of my favorite tracks off this album.
Yay!
100%. Yeah, it was good. And then we get over into Bag of Bones, which one thing that I will say that I really appreciated about this transition, and I might have missed it through the other tracks, but I really like that this track actually opened up with the sound of the jukebox flipping.
Oh my god, I missed that.
Yeah, I missed
Listen
that.
to
Whoa.
it again. If you listen to the transition, I don't have it in the clip, but it actually like you can hear like, you know, the flipping of the tracks.
Wait, that's sick. I'm so mad I missed that.
It was cool. And again, with it being part of the concept, I actually think looking back is more discovering the Cosmic Selector and finding the jukebox in the woods, which is what's on the front of it. And this is actually the first time that he's entered anything into the Cosmic Selector, the jukebox. So this was, looking back, was the discovery of the jukebox, and then this is the first I'm selecting this song off of it, and that's why we get kind of an aggressive change,
a crazy shift,
because this is the first world that the Cosmic Selector actually takes them to.
So I just really quickly did like the first second on each track just now. The only one I distinctly hear that like clicking over sound of a jukebox is at the start of Bag of Bones. I don't know if it's like maybe in a transition, like towards an end of something. I gotta re-listen and look for that. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was really neat when I had first heard it. Like it's super there. But let's listen to a little clip of it. Not particularly that clip, but let's listen.
Okay, so my first note was about how big of a vibe shift it was, but my second note was, wow, a man admitted he was wrong in the end. That's big. We got to celebrate that one.
Take the wins where we can get them.
Yeah. Oh, man. But I really, okay, so I'm big on like subject matter and knowing how we're supposed to be like being thrown into different parts of life and all chaotic. It makes more sense now. But like, I really related with that grief we were feeling in the first track, and that was completely gone. And I thought we like moved to a woe is me situation that I didn't like. And I was just like, cause I don't know, but it was also like, he admitted he was wrong, but then it was also kind of woe is me. And I'm like, can you just pick a lane, man? But yeah, I still liked the track though.
That's kind of one thing that I appreciated about the concept of the album, and maybe that's what I was missing, is just the way that you just described it, is the fact that he's actually taking his own ways of kind of, instead of necessarily being transported to a different world that I kind of thought it was going to be, it's all a similar world that is him, but it's how he's choosing to react to the way that I think looking back kind of sets the map for. right? Looking back is, this is how I'm feeling. These are my different options that I can take, and this is the world that will happen if this is what I choose to do. So this is the woe is me track. This is what if I just say that it's everybody else's fault but my own.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the whole point of this is. And then he finds out that, okay, well, no, I am the problem. That's true.
Admitting you're a problem is huge.
Right?
I love
so
it when people can do that.
That's kind of the whole point of the Cosmic Selector, is this is part of the debt that I need to pay, is understanding like, hey, if I choose to blame everything other than myself, I'm going to end up blaming myself by the end of it anyways, because I'm going to be alone and there's nothing else that nobody's going to want to be around me, that kind of mentality and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. Musically, obviously a bit more kind of country folksy than the first track. I like that it's the kind of a bluesy rock, kind of southern rock feeling. The shoegazy guitars on it are awesome. I love that a lot. It was a little bit too sleepy for me. It kind of edges into like that blues rock, southern rock that I really like. It didn't really feel like it fully got into the rock side of it, which again, just made it a little bit sleepy. They talk about being stoned and broke a lot throughout the whole album. It's really
relatable.
Most of their subject matter, which I had already mentioned it once, but then I started to hear more and more of it. I'm like, hey, like, you could try something other than marijuana and not having any money. Like there's other things I'm sure you could talk about, but it does really seem to be a pretty dramatic theme of a lot of this. But I did really like the songwriting at this point. A bit less of my kind of music acoustically, but like I'll give the lyricism a lot of props. Like until I found out that they were going to keep talking about the same thing for 5 out of the next, what is it, 11 tracks?
11 or 12, I don't remember.
This is number 2.
Yeah.
I think it's 13 tracks total, so like we've already gone through 2.
Total, yeah.
Is it 12 total?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did notice in the lyrics in this one, and I'm assuming it was intentional, is we had like a lot of like laugh mentions, like life is a joke if you laugh, no one laughs in nothing's face, and just knowing that we have Who Laughs Last on the track, I figured that was his way of introducing that song with, and still keeping it somehow on track, even though sonically we're already kind of like veering in different directions. So I thought that was cool.
I loved, like, especially the difference we got in some of our like string usage, because you get like your acoustic guitar, you get some electric guitar, the reverb they put on this stuff, really neat like effect that it kind of has through things. I really liked it. The storytelling for me, this is where I went, oh, okay, we're gonna be like telling a story through the whole album, and maybe I'm wrong, but I started picking up like on the laugh thing through like several of these that we'll talk about more like later when we get to them, that made me feel like, okay, there is a through line story that we're getting, maybe that is through the whole album, or maybe with that little click at the start for the jukebox, maybe is through like this volume of whatever we're listening to on the jukebox. But I really liked it. There was like a moment I think this one was the one with the harmonica in it that kind of like pulled me in. If not, then there was like a moment where I went, oh, that's kind of neat, and then
I have a harmonica in all caps for Digging Up the Past, but I might have missed it on this one though, but I did pick up harmonica later and screamed about it.
Yes, it was in Digging Up the Past that I for sure wrote it down too. I did not write it down on this one, so
but I could
tell us in the comments. Is there a harmonica on Bag of Bones?
Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I put my note in the wrong place. But I thought that I heard maybe on this one, I guess, with how I put it here. Like, I was sitting here thinking back there, and I'm like, I don't know that this actually ends up here, but I wrote it down.
Well, speaking of harmonicas, we really folk things up entirely when we move over to Nothing I Need, which we're going to listen to a little bit of right now.
I fell asleep, and when I woke up, she was there with her long black hair, her ice cold stare. She made me wish that I had never let her go. I threw away our love on the goddamn road, but I see her face everywhere I go. I fell deep when you fell out of love with me. Now I got everything I want, and I got nothing that I need. If I believe, will you fall back in love with me? Now I got everything I want, and I got nothing that I
I love the upbeat folky switch.
I knew you were gonna
I
like
think
this
it's
one a
so
lot.
fun. Yeah. I also really love like image, like he has in a lot of his music this like imagery and like concept that he's being like haunted by this woman, and it shows up in a lot of his past work too. And I thought that was such an interesting pairing with the upbeat folk, but I liked it. I was like, it doesn't sound haunting at all, but she's coming for him. I loved the chorus. I just thought this one was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's very upbeat and plucky for kind of being like somber lyrically.
Yeah.
I got really stuck on the banjo in this because I really love me some good banjo, and I really got very focused in on that. But there is like also the steel guitar that kind of adds to it some too here.
Yeah, 100%. This is this is the straight folksy stuff. Like it sounds super familiar from something else. I don't know what it is like specifically. I can't pick out specifically because I do mention that it is like very, the way the chorus opens up is like very Lumineers-esque, but like it doesn't sound like Lumineers. I feel like I know it from something else, but I don't know what I know it from. So again, chat, if you guys know where that came from, let me know. I genuinely, I just can't put my finger on what I know it from. It's got that classic country western like railway drum in behind, which is like always fun. Like it makes it very campy, which is cool. Like it's fine. It's a cool track. Yeah, like I appreciated it. It's a little bit more yee than I think I usually appreciate out of my indie stuff, but like it's fine. It's cool. It's appreciable. But then we roll into what I think is one of my favorite tracks.
Same.
Is there anybody out there? Because again, this is now when we go from like folk to like this interesting like little like lo-fi kind of like sphere, which was a really, really cool change up. Let's listen to Is There Anybody Out There?
Is there anybody out there? Glimpsed a ghost in the darkness, stared me straight in the eye. It was only my own face, faintly mirrored in memory and moonlight.
The whole thing to me almost sounded like it's playing through like a radio, which just made it even cooler. Like everything so far on this album has been so cinematic, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But like the keening strings against like these like lyrics of like wanting some sort of connection, like is anyone out there, just really like drove it home for me. Like that was just so, the mix is so good here. Like they just did a great job on the production side here.
Oh, the way I loved the Memory and Moonlight line so much because I love like that cadence, like speed up. It just it makes me so happy. I love how like groovy it almost is at points. We have him contemplating like the worth of his soul again, but I thought like it was just so heartbreaking. Like, what's the worth of a lone soul? Don't they count them by two? I thought it was just such a sad idea that your soul is worthless if you don't have like your partner or your soulmate. Like that really just like hit hard for me. He's so haunted that he's thinking he's a ghost now. Like he's just going through it. But yeah, and it had such a satisfying
he keeps going to a different world whenever he picks a song out on a jukebox. So he's like, am I real anymore?
Going crazy. But yeah, this was actually like my favorite track. I thought it had such a satisfying build. I loved it.
Yeah, it slows up into this like lo-fi beat, which I absolutely love. Like it's what I was fiending for from Lord Huron. There's some serious twang to it, but it's like overpowered by how lo-fi everything is on it, and I think that's awesome. The songwriting's top notch, but musically, like it's just so unique and vibey. Like such a cool track. Fun little solos in there that are like really plucky and simple, but like it's special because there's the way that they create the soundscape during those solo moments like makes it feel special, and then it pulls out to just the guitar and the vocal in the final chorus. I loved this track. This track was honestly like this was like a 10 out of 10 track for me. If I had to like pull it aside and call each one individually what I feel about them, this is a 10 out of 10. Yeah, man.
It's just so good.
Yeah.
And then we get this light change up. And I mean, Kristen Stewart's on it. So we actually don't have a clip for this one because we covered this in, I believe, episode 2.
Yeah.
It
Way back
was
when.
Oh, wow.
a long time ago. Who Laughs Last? Guys, if you want to hear a little clip of it, it will be on our track attack from episode 2, which, yeah, was a long time ago. It's, I was pretty indifferent to it before. It was basically a spoken word track with Kristen going forever and like this super hectic drum, other than the chorus, which the chorus they like kind of pop out on. It's cool, but I didn't really feel like I ever needed to listen to it again, and I felt the same way listening to it the second time around.
This song was on my on repeat Spotify playlist for months because I really liked it. I loved how cinematic it was. There's something very satisfying about this song if you are listening to it in a car going somewhere. Like, it is just such a perfect road trip song for me, where it's just like, I don't know, I really like put myself in the story.
See, it just brings me back, like, to me, this is almost like he's asking, is there anyone else out there? And then it almost focuses in on her, and I don't know if it's her response or if it's just like what's playing in her head or what. But you also go back to like the who's laughing, this laugh line that we kept hearing back and forth, and like she's laughing, and then it's almost like it just abruptly ends. So like even if she is the one who laughs last, maybe or not, I don't know. I really liked it. I thought it was fun and creative. It's not going to be something I like constantly go back to, and I definitely don't think you can just like stick it in a playlist somewhere necessarily, but I think this is fun for such a cinematic album so far.
Yeah, honestly, I could take or leave this track. Like, musically it does nothing for me. In the context of the album, I can appreciate it a little bit more, but it's still too conceptual for me to really say that I love the song. You know what I mean? Like, as part of the story driver, I get its presence. I'm not mad about its presence. As, like, just wanting to listen to the music doesn't really do a whole lot for me. It's Kristen Stewart talking for most of it.
I think it's a nice way to spice up or, like, break up your album, because this is in the middle where sometimes you can hit that slump, so to give something different is neat. But it definitely, I like it, I enjoy it, I think it's fun to see some Kristen Stewart in it, just for, like, oh, little, like, Easter egg moment is kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can take it or leave it. But Who Laughs Last? Turns out it might be The Comedian, which is the next track. There is a lot of commentary about joking, just in general.
Yeah.
Which is actually interesting. I don't know how I would have missed that, because it's very, very,
very on the nose, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, almost aggressively so. But let's listen to a little bit of the following track, The Comedian.
Goddamn city got a life of its own. The only problem is I don't. I'm just writing to say I survived. I wanna feel like I did back then. I wanna see my name in the lights again. I don't know how I ended up like this. I had the whole wide world at my fingertips.
I don't dislike it, but for me, this is the low point of the album.
Same.
I like it's like a self-pity party where you've got like a soft jazz rock combo behind you that's kind of like, I guess we gotta be supportive for this guy. And like, we get some horns towards the end, but for me, I wish I had more of that throughout. And there's a lot, I don't know, on this one, I'm not mad about the creativity of like going to this place. I'm not mad about the placement of it on the album. There's something for me that's missing for this one that I was really enjoying in the others.
Yeah, for me, I say it a lot, but I'm just not a fan of like not taking accountability for things. And like for this, it really just seemed like the ego brought to him by his fame got in his way. It was very, like we said, woe is me. Thought like sonically, I thought it was fine, but we've had like way more, like I don't like personal songs where he's like admitting his darkness and admitting his faults, but the narrative just pivots so hard here, and I'm just not a fan of this exact narrative. But conceptually, I think it works.
Yeah, it's a really ballady like jazz number, which right after like this repetitive transic track before it is a lot. It's a pretty big switch up. It's sad, it's moody, it's sort of self-reflecting. I think it's really sleepy, which again doesn't really do a whole lot for me. Like this one specifically, not in a very good way. It's sleepy. For the fact that it started off like with this jazzy kind of moment, and then it just really left me longing for something different, and I never really got that at any point. I do want to say the drums were a lot of fun on it though. The drums, like there's a lot of like really fun breaks in there. Like it does actually feel like the drummer was able to just kind of freeform for a little bit, which I appreciated a lot. And if I was a drummer, which I was at one point, I would probably like screw around to this song and just like try out different fills on it, because why not? The rest of the song isn't really doing a whole lot, so I could have some fun. And like honestly, like big props to the drummer too, without like not overtaking the track, because how sleepy the track is, be really easy to do. So yeah. I thought the drummer showed off a little bit here, and it was like a tasteful amount, not like overpowering the song.
And
might
it
be
really
what I was
added
looking
to the
for.
Jazz combo kind of a feel, because
For sure.
Everybody has like a moment or two where they're kind of playing around. The drums, I think, is the one that kind of does it the best in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
But it definitely gave something, at least for me, to be looking forward to in the song, to see those little moments.
Yeah, fully agree. And then we get to go over to Watch Me Go, which we'll give it a listen right now.
'Cause I see what I be coming. Yeah, I wanna ride with the wind, I don't wanna die slow. You didn't see me coming, no, but you can watch me go. Hey, you can watch me go. Yeah, you can watch me go. Hey, you can watch me go. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else heard it, but like instantly the opening instrumental reminded me of Bad Mood Rising, and I couldn't get that out of my head for so long.
I immediately, I was in the middle of like, okay, we're back to like upbeat country. It's kind of a weird switch. Again, my issue, I think, is more with the last song than this one. And then immediately I just burst out into like the biggest smile with like a little giggle, because I was like, there's like this spaghetti Western riff that keeps happening, and I'm not mad about it. Like, I think that the way they do it is just like, it evokes that, it gives you that,
Yeah.
and like, adds to it. It's not just like, oh, there it is, you know? And it was just so fun. Like,
Yeah,
but this also, to me, I said, like, as far as the song itself, to me this almost sounds like it could be like if you had like an old cassette, like the B-side track to Nothing I Need, where, you know, Nothing I Need is almost like, you know, I've done all these things, and like in hindsight now I've got nothing I need, all this different stuff, but like this is almost like it's you making the decisions that led to Nothing I Need, which I just thought was kind of fun. Maybe it's not supposed to be that, maybe I'm reading too deep into it, you know, but I thought it was kind of a fun little play on things while still almost being like a little eerie at times.
It had like a really ominous ending that that really like intrigued me a lot. But yeah, drastic vibe switch, but I like this vibe way more.
Yeah. I was having fun with my like little weird like Old West like atmospheric album. Keep it coming. Like,
Yeah. I mean, this track obviously breathes some light back into the album, which amazing, because after the last few beats, I felt like it was very slow. Including, honestly, I know it's not a slow track by like definition, but it really kind of took a lot out of me because I wasn't a big fan of Who Laughs Last either. So like that with the comedian like really like had me like kind of out of it. And so this song did actually do a good job of bringing it back, because it was a little bit more folk pop like kind of spot, like, which it brought me back into it. Even if it's not my favorite track, it at least got my tempo back going. You know what I mean? This song situationally I think is better than it lets on though, which like after the comedian, Watch Me Go, I think I like it more just because it wasn't another song like The Comedian.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite reason for
Yeah.
liking a track. You know what I mean? Like,
Fair.
situationally, I think it's better than what the track actually kind of deserves to be, in my opinion. It just was a change up that I think we all wanted after The Comedian, and that's
Yeah,
why we
yeah.
like it a little bit more. Out of context of the album, I don't think it hits as well. But that's just me. And that moves us into Fire Eternal, featuring Kazu Makino. A little bit of kind of a darker little bass heavy track here. Let's give it a little bit of a spin.
What can I do? I will always be in love with you. What can I say? It can never be another way. One day you'll see, you will always be a part of me. Till the end of time,
The first thing I said.
The
was
clip
that
I pulled
it
out was
so
not dark.
good. Yeah, it wasn't super dark, but like just the transition even from the last one to this was so well done because it's still like it's weirdly haunting, but like also kind of almost the most seductive track on the album a little bit. Like, but it was just so good. It was so good. Like I really liked it.
Mhm.
And I just the vocal tracking itself so well done. Like I've listened to some of Kazu Makina in oh shoot, it's Blonde Redhead. Like in some of what that group has done. But like this was just really cool to see it in play here.
Yeah, I really liked like the texture their vocals together were making. What I really loved about this track too is so She Lit a Fire is a track on the debut album Lonesome Dreams. So I felt that this was like a callback
Like a
to his
callback to
very
that
first album and
Oh,
that he's
that's
just been
cool.
pining for her first, like this woman has been haunting him since the very beginning. And I thought that was like a really cool
Oh.
nod.
That's really fucking cool.
So yeah, I
I wish I'd
loved
listened to
that.
more of their stuff before this.
Yeah, honestly, like again, like it starts off with that darker kind of bass line coming through, and then the harmonies are just really interesting. Like they're nice. They're a little bit jarring, especially because Kazu's vocals are so airy,
Yeah.
and Ben Schneider's voice is like just very like rich. So like they kind of juxtapose in a way that kind of works because of how indie the track all is together.
Well, it just makes it feel like that she is like haunting him. Like she's
Yeah.
not actually there. It's like a memory or like an actual ghost or something. And like it just is so eerie, but I love
100%.
it.
The guitar moments are super penetrating on this. Also, I don't know if you guys heard it, but it like for whatever reason it follows like the verses. I didn't play it in the clip, but like it follows the same chord progression and a really similar tempo for Lonely No More by Rob Thomas. Like it's almost
I would not have pulled that out of my
It's-
ass.
I
or
could
for those
see
of you that are younger than Rob Thomas, what is the other one?
Smooth.
What's who no not
I
a
was
different Rob
wondering, like,
Thomas
I
song. No.
don't- yeah.
Who covered Lonely No More by Rob Thomas? That was Me and My Broken Heart. I don't remember who that was. Me and My Broken Heart.
I can't help you.
YouTube. It's Rixton.
Yeah, that's
Andy Case cover. Yeah. So Andy
Yeah.
Case did Me
What?
and My
No,
Broken
that's-
Heart and Lonely
no.
No More mashup.
No, that's not it. That's not
No?
what you're thinking of. No, it's Me and My Broken Heart is what the name of the song is.
Well.
Push Baby?
No.
See, now we're gonna go on like a
Oh
whole.
my god. Yeah, it's Rixton.
It is Rixton. Okay.
Is that what you said?
Yeah,
I did
yeah,
not hear you say
Rixton, later
Rixton.
known as Push Baby. Okay, so we're all a little bit right.
That's insane. But no, like genuinely the chorus of Lonely No More and Me and My Broken Heart like follows the exact same chord progression, and I couldn't unhear it for parts of the song, so like kind of hurt the song a little bit for me because I was like, now I just want Rob Thomas instead, which is a weird pull to want after listening to Lord Huron and being like, could really listen to Rob Thomas instead
Weird
now.
take. It's a weird take, but
But- Regardless,
you.
give it a listen. Honestly, listen to the first verse and then listen to Lonely No More, and you're gonna be like, yeah, that's weirdly similar. But regardless, it's still a cool song. I appreciated it. Just kind of took away a little bit from me how similar that was. But that's a me thing. I'll probably get over it. Or I ruined the song for everybody that listens to this podcast. All of you listening, I just ruined it for
Every
you
single
guys.
person's gonna write in to tell
They're
us that
just
you
like,
did it.
oh no, it is too similar, and now I do want to listen to Rob Thomas. For the first time anybody's ever said that specifically. Rob Thomas comes to you. You don't have to go to Rob Thomas. That's what you know what I mean.
Oh my god.
That takes us over to It All Comes Back.
To
Let's
Rob
just play a clip
Thomas.
of it.
There's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go, and no one else to know. Just watching the darkness wave hello.
This is another where it just felt like you were listening to it through like something like an old timey like radio or TV or something, and I kind of liked that. It is a smoother jazz combo. For me the like thing that's shown here was more of that percussion sort of like section. The drummer here who they're playing on the hi-hat, this little rhythm, and then every once in a while they switch that to castanets instead, which gives it like a really interesting, like, it almost makes me think more like flamenco-esque, but like definitely does not get there with this song. But like it was just a really neat like trade-off that's so seamless in that track, and I just thought that was so neat.
I love how you can pick up on these little things.
Oh.
Wow.
Every once in a while there's a little something that I'm like, okay, this is the thing I'm focused on in the song. That was that for this. Yeah.
I think it's so cool. I really love that this was like another very satisfying, like instrumental build up, like explosion vibe. I just love when that happens on a track. I really liked that you played me a fool line. I felt like we were echoing back to like the comedian, like making that pull back into our story. Yeah, I thought it was really pretty.
See, this reminded me so much of that opening track with that super shoegazy kind of feeling all around it and the guitars until the string section comes out. The string section was like actually kind of pull it away from me, unfortunately. Like, I like the opening track so much more on this. I felt like it felt right as an opener, but now we've had such an eclectic mix of stylings kind of throughout the whole album that this feels like a little bit too far removed, kind of out of nowhere. I think lyrically, the first track was far superior to this track, and I don't like this sort of film score styling that they have on the backtrack on it. Like, it didn't work for me. It doesn't vibe with the cinematic overtones on this. Like, it conflicts too much because it was reminding me so much of that original, the very first track on the album that I really appreciated. Now it feels like you're doing the same thing, but more cinematically. I'm like, well, no, like all of the cinema has been the fact that you're going through all these other worlds, and now you're going back to the first worlds and trying to make that cinematic. And like, no, the whole point of this was the first world wasn't supposed to be cinematic. It was while you were going through the rest of this journey is what's supposed to feel big and bigger than yourself. And this feels like you tried to make the very first track the same thing that you were making all of the tracks afterwards. So it cut me out in the story in a big way, right? You're supposed to be taking all of these different paths, these randomness of paths, and then you end up back on the same path.
Yeah, but I think
but
that's the
weirdly more
point. Like
cinematic. I don't
Well,
like
I
it.
wonder if it's kind of referencing back to that first one, because the first one is you kind of stumbling into where you're at, and you're talking about like having had this whole experience, like looking back on all of this, here's my thoughts. And then this, like, with it being and sounding because of the filtering that's done, maybe it is like he's removed and he is just somewhere where he suddenly is now watching from someone else's perspective this play out that leads to here. Or
But like it's also, it all comes back. So it sounds like he went back to where he initially was, but then the styling just feels too different that it doesn't feel like you actually went back.
Well,
You know what
I
I
get
mean? Like,
that.
you're going back to that very first moment, but that first moment was the jukebox in the woods, and that's what kind of made it so, like, interesting. And then when you add this, like, grandeur behind it, suddenly you're no longer just it's no longer just a jukebox in the woods, which maybe was the intention, but I just didn't really appreciate it. I didn't like it very much. This one was not for me at all.
Interesting.
After really, really liking the first one. But I did like this next one because I feel like he ends up touching the jukebox again. And it takes us again to a different spot with Used to Know.
And time was running backwards towards something I can't believe. I started running after I saw a ghost. He looked the same as me. If I ever give back what you gave me, take it and run away as far as you can go. If I ever come back from the graveyard, tell me I remind you of someone you used to know.
I thought the bridge was like kind of chaotic, but it works so much. Like we're doing this whole like get a move on thing. I thought that was pretty cool. I can't help but whenever I hear somebody talking about coming back from a grave, I can't help but go to Hosier's work song and just think that no one can beat Hosier's work song when it comes to that kind of like imagery and lyricism. It's like if I ever come back from the graveyard, tell me I remind you of someone you used to know just doesn't hit as hard as no grave can hold my body down. So I hate that I'm comparing it to that, but I feel like it took, I don't know, it made me lose a little bit of respect for it. And there's that weird babbling outro was weird. I wasn't a fan of it. But overall, I didn't mind the track. I just had some weird, very specific complaints.
Very specific.
Very specific. Like, this is very unique to my experience.
See, I really like this. This is actually one of the ones that I liked, I think, most off the album. Like, it was up there for me. I thought it was a nice, like, kind of indie rock groove that we're getting into right away. It does, to me, it feels reminiscent of, like, a lot of different kind of, like, indie rock songs, but it's, like, just enough that I can't quite put my finger on, like, it makes me think of this, which I think for a song called Used to Know feels kind of cool. Like, to me, that just feels like a really cool space for the song to kind of exist in for me. I do think I really liked the lyrics. Conversely to you, who is like, all it makes me think about is Hozier. I really liked that line. I thought that was, I thought it was kind of neat. Like, if I end up coming back, like, tell me just that I remind you of someone you used to know. Like, this, like, you know, if I die and I came back, or even just like if I've been gone for so long, or even in the context of this whole concept of the album, you know, if I have been gone for so long that you have like buried me and I come back and you don't even like, if you don't recognize me, you know, at least tell me that there's something that you can like find some sort of like kinship to me in, or
it is
some
sweet
sort of memory. Yeah.
It like made me think of Hozier and Gautier at the same time though, and it was just like that. There was like a weird like it was reminding me of too many things.
Well, you know, as far as the story comes along, like the cool thing about this is I've spent so much time in the Cosmic Selector now, and I've returned back, which is it all comes back. That was the returning back. Like, it's very clear, but like I am changed because of all these other places that I've gone. So like, don't think that I'm the same person that you did. Say that you remind me of somebody that I was, because I'm not that person anymore.
Oh.
Right? Which I think is kind of a cool way. It's talking to somebody that he knows who he is. Let's say I just remind you of them because I'm not that person anymore. Which I think is a cool way to kind of progress that story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why it all comes back was so frustrating to me again, because you're coming back to the same place. Like, this is clearly, you're back, you're out of the Cosmic Selector now. Now you're talking to somebody who's just like, hey, haven't seen you in a little bit. How have you been? Just like, I'm not that person, right? It's kind of like the whole point of what they're trying to discuss. Talking about the actual music, though, I really love the opening on this track. The guitar hits so hard. Like, we get some surfier drums, some, like, really nice penetrating bass lines. It's cool. This is the indie rock that I've wanted, like, the whole album. Like, I'm in for it. I like the lo-fi vibe of the other song more than this one, but this was one of my top tracks. With softer vocals on the chorus, too, are just super sweet. Like, honestly, sounds like he hits vocal points that like remind me of like Dallas Green and stuff like that in terms of just like the overall sound and the tone while they're singing, which is fantastic to me. The cadencing on this is some of the best in terms of the lyricism. I love like how they broke out the lines and the structure of it all. Yeah, it's just like lightly mismatched to hit some spots. It's really clean and smooth while like it keeps things specifically unique. I was a big fan of this track.
Now I wonder, because you brought it up again, where you think that It All Comes Back is like we are supposed to now be back out of like this jukebox. I wonder, we heard the click for the track going on. I wonder if there's like some sort of sound cue maybe at the end of one of these songs where it is supposed to cue us that like, okay, like it's done. The record's being taken and shelved back away. Because to me, I wouldn't have picked up like It All Comes Back makes me think about him talking like as he's been through all of this, you know, like, oh, well, it all comes back to where we are now, you know, because it all comes back to that moment and I'm still kind of going through it. So I wouldn't have thought that this is any different. So I'm curious now, because I hadn't thought about that first time to listen for that sound cue, if maybe there is a spot where they like are trying to actually tell us this is where it changes again.
Yeah, now we've returned back and I'm a different person in the world. I don't know. That's just how I'm interpreting it, but I could be very wrong. People in the comments can let us know. But let's dig up the past. Oh no, not you now, Mel.
I think I'm okay. Oop.
We can't both die.
All good.
Cool. Let's dig up the past with digging up the past.
Led into the forest by a presence without form. The way is cold and lightless, but your memory keeps me warm. Guess I'll just keep walking toward the tunes that glow within, digging up the past and dreaming of what might have been.
I could listen to someone play the harmonica all fucking day. Like I love it.
You
so
say
much.
that, but honestly,
I
once you have to
would
listen
get
to it for the whole
over
day,
it.
you'll get sick of the harmonica. Don't ever try
I
this,
will
because
say,
you will be so disappointed in
Yeah,
yourself.
I was really gaslighting myself earlier to the point that like I went back and like scrubbed through the music real fast to be like, yeah, there was harmonica in this, because I even wrote here like fun use of the harmonica again, the word again. I wasn't crazy. But I do think it feels like a good nod to other artists, and some of the vibe, obviously it's not the same, but it gives me some of like the same feeling of like Neil Young and other older like artists that for digging up the past feels like a nice nod to some of these older artists who've kind of paved the way for a lot of stuff that, you know, we have today. This one, unfortunately, if you were to remove the comedian for me, would be the low point of the album, just because it takes me out a little bit of what I was really enjoying more. I think that it's good, but it was starting to give me a little bit of concern that the album's going to end in a way that isn't going to make me feel satisfied at the end, or like we've hit like an ending point because this is so late. I think my biggest gripe with it is almost the placement of it on the album.
Well, the whole point of this, again, he says that he's going through the forest, seeing the graves glowing. What did we find in the very first one? We found a jukebox in the forest. So he's actually talking about all of these songs on the Cosmic Selector being the graves of these people that he's thinking about what could have been, because these are all the different places in life that it could have gone. So like that's genuinely what he's trying to say right now in this exact moment. It needed to be at the very end, right? We might have had a harmonica earlier on, but I mean, when he's talking about like things like Neil Young and those types of bands, Bob Dylan, really prominent artists that used harmonica like prevalently in all of their music. Like this is the homage to all of them, saying like, you guys were the songs on the Cosmic Selector that helped me decide which way we were going to end up going on this jukebox. Your music was the music that was in the jukebox. I just didn't know where that was going to take me when I listened to it. And that's like kind of the whole purpose of the song. I think it's remarkable, in my opinion. I think this is, just going through the story and stuff like that in my head, this is the most important song on the album, and like my second favorite song on the album, because it's really hard for me to knock the other one out. The super shoegazy guitars are fantastic. It's a slower track, which I don't usually like. I like this one a lot more on this one. I missed this on my first listen, like when I was just listening to it casually. But then when I was starting to actually break it all down, this was another one where I'm like, I love this song so much. The bass line's there. The drums are keeping things engaged. His vocals are super pure. The harmonica's amazing. This was the story. You're right. This was the story coming to a completion, because this is him reapproaching now that he's come back. He's talked to people and he's like, I'm not the same person. Now he's thinking about going back to the Cosmic Selector, because he's like, I'm not the same person I was. This world feels so different now. And now I'm thinking about all of the songs that are the worlds that I had to go through to be able to get to this point, and I kind of want to go back to it now.
I mean, honestly, your interpretation of it gives me a better appreciation of this song, because to me, it just, I don't know, it felt very sad, which I guess like it is, but
it is.
For me, it was like, you know, I want to hear us end on a strong note, and to me, this almost sounded like it was ready to like, the album is going to end feeling very unfinished, which while it would make a lot of sense potentially for the album, just had me going, oh, come on, don't.
It's also
don't
volume
make me
1.
wait for a volume 2 to be like, okay, now I feel better. You know,
No,
so I do
is,
appreciate it more now, hearing how you see it fit into all of this.
I think this is the reminiscence, and again, thinking about every single song or every artist on this jukebox being what takes them to another world. Being like, I'm ready to dig up the past again, to like go back through all of these old songs, and again, the homage to some of the inspirations that you can tell that Lord Huron has used in a lot of their music. Being like, I'm ready to go back to these people and ask them for their assistance. I want to dig up the past with them, because every single time I've ended up in a completely different world, and I'm a changed person now that I've returned back to this world after having experienced all of their worlds, right? And saying, I could still use more work on that, and I'm going to go try to find it. He's walking back through the forest to go find their graves, which is just their music on the jukebox.
I do think so he mentions, like, I hear Whispers in the Pine. Whispering Pines is actually the name of his recording studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
That's cool.
I very literally took this as a nod too of him just looking back and reflecting on his career. And like maybe I do think it was more career and just like kind of second guessing choices that he's made and like directions that he could have gone in. And it was like a lot of what ifs. I do also like we have him laughing besides a grave again. Like the laughing is a constant, like, a constant theme, metaphor, whatever it is. I don't know the word.
It's like a nice through line for everything.
Yeah. But I liked it. It wasn't my favorite on the album, but I liked it.
I love this song. So good. And then we get to the closing track, because it was an ending at the end of the day. Although I think it was less of an ending and more of a setup for volume 2 than it was anything else. You know what I mean? It was more like, cool, I'm going to go back to there. But let's listen to the final track here, Life is Strange.
Life is strange. Tell me why I feel alone when I stare at the sky. I'm unworthy, so are you. Life is strange, so I do what I do. Sing the old songs
I love this song so
Yeah.
much. This is like everything I love about him. I really love the feel alone when I stare at the sky. I'm unworthy, so are you. Because I just feel like after experiencing all that there is, well, I guess not all that there is, but all of these things that he's experienced in the universe, like it's got to be so hard to not feel like so small and unimportant. And I feel like now he's just kind of left with this void and like he can't dream anymore because like he's experienced so many cool things. Yeah, exactly. Like there's just something so beautiful and so sad about it. But that's what he does best and what I love the most from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
This
and I
song's
also
awesome.
really like the addition of the harp, like at the last minute, basically, to put it on just like this final song was really interesting to me. It was a really interesting choice that, like, you know, he's taken what he's gotten, but now he's doing something new, or he's changed and is new or different with it now. It did feel very cinematic and almost very philosophical with some of the like lyrics kind of all coming to a culmination here at the end. And overall, I'm not mad about it. It's a great conclusion for a really nice album.
Yeah, this is a super solid closeout song. It's back to that Lord Huron lo-fi kind of vibe, which I appreciated a lot. It lost some of that super twanginess, which I really appreciated. The bass line is a big heavy lifter on this track, and I think that's awesome. This could have been the single, honestly, off this album. It's not something we get very often. I think this should have been the single, in my opinion, because I think this is like just such a easily approachable track. The lyrics are super captivating. It's like really easy to want to sing along to, and like it feels good to want to sing along to it. You know what I mean? Like it's a cool track that way. It's one of my favorite album closers that I think we reviewed. It wasn't one of my favorite songs off of the whole album, but in the context of this was probably one of my favorite closers, and it closed everything up like really nicely. I think it's closes. Yeah, it was really kind of zipped things up, and I think the context of the story and stuff like that is just this. I didn't deserve to go down the path that I got to go down, but I did, and now I'm back here, and now. Again, after this whole I might go back and do it kind of thing, this is like, I just need to make sure that I'm worthy of being able to do that, you know? And I think that's a cool way to end it because that makes it feel, again, like there's going to be a volume 2 that comes out that's going to be along the same lines and continue to build this, this plethora of worlds that this Cosmic Selector is able to take people down. But...
I hope they do. I want to see a volume 2 of this and like what they do with it. But if they only ever decide that they're doing this one and the volume 1 is just a fun part of the name, I could live with this being what we got, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So in closing, everybody.
I gave it an 8-1. I really enjoyed it.
Did you want to talk about it? Do you have a conclusion, or are you just going to start throwing numbers out at it?
I just really liked it. Like, I think it was great. I think they did a really good job with the cinematic stuff. There's definitely some weaker points on it, so I don't want to go too much higher, like, personally on it. But, like, I really had a good time. I don't know a ton about Lord Huron, but this is definitely making me want to go check out all the other stuff that they've done in the past. Like, I've 8-1. I have nothing else to say.
I'm like in the same boat. I didn't have a lot of like clothes. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really pretty. There's a lot of that he does. Like there's a lot of what he does best in here that I really, really appreciate. The only thing that at first took me out a little bit was some of the shifting. But for the concept, I understand it. I gave it an 8.3. I just really liked it. Yeah.
I enjoyed the album. It's not. I don't think it's blowing any doors off. It's not necessarily my favorite music from Lord Huron, but that's because there's a lot of contributions that they have on other artists' work that I think I like more. The surfier melodies and the more lo-fi shoegazy stuff is the stuff that I actually like a lot more on it. And this featured some of that, but like not enough to make it like an absolute like must listen, in my opinion. I said there's like a couple of one-off tracks that I like a ton. Like they're top notch tracks, so I can't say I dislike it either. It feels like super complete as a project. Just has a couple of like blatant low spots for me. It's a good showing by Lord Huron. Not great, but good. So I ended up giving it a 7-1.
Rude.
I'm surprised yours is that low.
Yeah.
All right, fine. I guess that's cool.
It was good. It's good. It's just good though. It was good. Like I said, the couple of slow spots and the couple of like the sleepier spots, it just tough. Just tough to get there. But,
Fair.
yeah.
Fine.
Do you guys agree with us in the comments? Do you disagree with us? Please tell us why and how. And
7-1 slow, you can tell him.
yeah, 100%. You can tell me all about it. I think 7-1's exactly perfect for this. Like it's really it's solid. It is solid. I think I've given a little bit too much grace to other artists before, like that should have been lower. 7-1 I think is the right spot to hit this album at. But if I could fix, how I reviewed Drake and The Weeknd, I think we would feel a little bit better about my 7-1. But regardless, I think it's a solid album. Yeah, that's kind of it. So let us know in the comments. But
Cool.
This is another album review from On Beat or Off Script. I'm Brandito. This is Melon Rose. Thanks for hanging out.
Hell yeah.
Bye.
Mwah.
3, 2, 1.